The choice to give up my day job and work on the rockets full time and make that more of a profession than a hobby, I guess there was a time when I had to really think about that. I thought, well, you know, things are going nice. I've got a nice house, a nice job, and, you know, a small family. But I was just Mr. Average, Mr. 9 till 5, and I thought, well, it could be different. I could do so much more. Maybe I should have a go. It did cause us to struggle for quite a while financially, but it wasn't too long before things started to come together. It was around about 1996, and I received a call from Salford University, the other side of Manchester, and they were trying to introduce a new degree course called Physics with Space Technology. What they wanted to do was add a bit more spice to it, a bit more excitement to the space technology side of things. They were quite interested in my background. The head of the department bought me lunch and he said, "Steve, we like what you're doing, come and do it at Salford. If you do, we'll give you a laboratory, we'll give you an office, we'll give you secretarial support, we'll give you a workshop." So this was an offer too good to turn down, and I moved all my operations to Salford University. Okay, so this is the sandbank that we're going to be launching from about this point here. A lot of the students actually do get involved with the rocket program. We've now got a team that spans the length and breadth of the country. We've got nearly 40 people involved in building the rockets. I motivate the team, and it kind of comes bouncing back because these people, they get all fired up, and they come back to me and they're knocking on the office door. Steve, when can we build the next stage of the rocket? That really helps, you know. If I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, then that kind of snaps me out of it, and off we go, and we start working on the rocket again.
We all smile together. That's good. One more.
Over the years, the rockets have increased in size and level of complexity. They have all contributed in some way towards our final goal of building a rocket to win the X Prize. We've been getting the rockets up there, putting them through their paces. We keep refining, we keep adjusting, we keep tuning the equipment that we use. Every time we fly a rocket, we get better at it. We're talking about 95% reliability, and the reliability of the rockets just keeps getting better. I came up with the name Star Chaser. The name kind of stuck, and we became the Star Chaser Foundation when we became a team. Then we became a private limited company, and it's now generally known as the Star Chaser Project. Let's go on, clean her up, put her in a museum, because we're going to build something a lot bigger than this now.
Oh, yes.
Nova is something like 5 times more powerful than the Star Chaser Discovery rocket we launched last year. It's 5 times more massive, and on top of that, we're only a few months away from a situation where I'm physically going to be riding that rocket. It's actually capable of carrying a person all the way into space, so this really is going to be a milestone for us.
Why aren't you knocking those in?
I'm waiting for a mallet.
Thank you very much. See you soon. Is somebody getting a mallet?
Morecambe Bay off the northwest coast of England is ideal for our purposes, particularly for low altitude flights, because we're talking about maybe 100 square miles of wet sand. No people, property or livestock to hit. For the last few years, every launch we've done, we've had people working through the night. So you're pretty exhausted, but you're driving up to the launch site and you're just hoping that you've managed to cover everything on the checklist and that you've brought everything with you. We've got one heck of a team. Everybody works together, everybody pulls together, everybody mucks in to make it work. I first heard about the X Prize about 5 years ago. The X Prize hadn't even been formally announced, but it was an article in the Times newspaper. It was about an American entrepreneur that wanted to kickstart a global space tourism industry. And what he was basically trying to do was reintroduce the old barnstorming days that they had in the 1920s and 30s by offering aviation prizes in order to get people to build bigger and faster aeroplanes. The X Prize is a $10 million prize, modelled after the $25,000 prize that Charles Lindbergh won for crossing the Atlantic. And a few short years after, there were aircraft travelling backwards and forwards across the Atlantic, carrying hundreds, if not thousands, of people. So the X Prize is a way of doing that for space travel. So I thought, this is great, you know, this is going to legitimise what I'm doing. There are now something like 17 teams registered, so it's an international competition. And I think Star Chaser has the edge over most of the other teams because we're physically going out there, getting our hands dirty and learning from it. We're actually building hardware that works.
This is a Japanese space special, and they do it every year. It's like a New Year's thing. According to the Japanese, this is our closest competition. Oh, Da Vinci Project, that's right. I'll just show you the beginnings of this, because it's really cheesy and embarrassing. Modern technology is
I remember seeing the old Apollo launches on TV. I remember watching the Apollo 11 moon rocket lift off. And I remember thinking that, well, you know, I'm just a kid watching these things. By the time I'm an adult, there'll be bases on the moon, there'll be colonies on Mars. Everything looked like it was really going to happen. You know, Star Trek was going to be real. But just as quickly as the Americans had gone to the moon, the politicians pulled the plug on the whole program, and it kind of collapsed. I first met my wife Adrienne in 1985. We got married, and the first place we stopped off at was the Kennedy Space Center in the United States. And that was like a mecca to me. You know, it's a place I always wanted to go. And although Adrienne didn't quite share my enthusiasm, she was there with me and she explored the place with me. I think the Apollo moon program was the pinnacle of NASA's achievement. Had Apollo not happened, you'd still have the naysayers and the doubters saying, well, you know, what's the point of going to the moon, and is it really feasible? You know, can we really actually go to the moon? You're going to sink in the dust and die when you get there and all that sort of thing. I'd do practically anything to see one of these things fly. Sadly, that probably is never going to happen again. It's really incredible to walk in these places where these famous people, these almost mythical people actually made history. To be in a place where they launched the Gemini Titan rockets or the Mercury Atlas that took John Glenn on his historic flight into orbit. It's a bit like going up Mount Olympus and meeting the old Greek gods. Some of these old launch pads, they're like a Stonehenge now.